What's going on, guys? Today we're talking about the all-new Voigtländer 35mm f1.5 Type 2 double-sided, double spherical lens for the Leica M mount, and in my personal opinion, probably the best third-party option for a 35mm lens for the M mount to date. Yes, it's that good. Anyway, we're gonna jump into Lightroom right now. We're gonna pixel peep, then we'll talk about design and build quality right after that. Okay, let's take a look at some images that I've taken with the 35 1.5 on the Canon R6 Mark II. And I also tested this as well with the 35 FLE from Leica on the R6 Mark II. Let's do the comparison between the FLE and the Voigtländer first. This is with the Voigtländer, and this is me outside. And look at this, is very, very sharp. I'm zooming in on this. It's a 24 megapixel sensor, and this looks really, really good. Look at the separation though, from the background to the subject. There's a nice 3D pop happening here. This is really, really impressive. Now let's look at the FLE. This lens has a more modern render to it versus the Voigtländer. This has a little bit more classic look, if you especially look at the background here, whereas this looks more modern, right? It looks like something you could use for more commercial photography. If you need that for your product shots, this is the lens I would opt for. In terms of the color coming out of the lens, I would say the Voigtländer has a little bit more of a warmer tone than the Leica. That can be easily corrected in Lightroom or Capture One or whatever software you're using. Now let's take a look at another shot here and see in terms of aberrations and fringing. This Rolly Magic camera right here, the light hitting the metal, there's gonna be a little bit of purple fringing happening here. On this whiteboard, a little bit of green. And it's not that bad, to be honest with you. I mean, I've seen worse coming out of other lenses that are much more expensive. Even the 35 Lux, the latest one, will have this purple fringing coming into play with metal objects. So, you know, you have to go oppo if you want to really correct all that. But now let's go to flaring real quick here and see how it deals with light right directly into the lens. Now I was focusing right here, but as you can see the light in the corners, it's well corrected for the most part. I'm not seeing anything that's really coming into my subject area that's gonna cause any concern. And this is something that is important, especially if you're shooting outdoors or in concerts or any sort of light or artificial light, and you wanna capture a subject, as I'm doing in the center, you're not gonna have that issue. Well corrected in that way. This is a statue of Bruce Lee, and look at the details, very, very sharp on the hair, shot at 1.5, but let's look at the bokeh. You're gonna see that green fringing come into play with the lights. Now you will notice a little bit more of a cat's eye shape to this. I found that the FLE has more circular shape. Again, this has 12 aperture blades inside of it, so this is probably just the characteristics of this lens. It does not bother me in the least. It adds a little bit more character in my opinion, but to each their own. But here's a shot of Legolas, another statue here. Just look at the detail and the sharpness this captures. Now this is a 24 megapixel image, so when I really zoom in, you are gonna lose a little bit of resolution on that. But when you look at it from a more, reasonable crop, this is really, really nice and very impressive. Again, a little bit of cat's eye right here in the way that it shapes the bokeh balls, but I'm very, very happy. Here's Joaquin Phoenix, and I was focusing on the eyelash right here, but you can see the texture in the skin. So that's what I'm saying. It's got the best of both worlds. You almost got that oppo sharpness, that Voigtländer oppo sharpness when you nail focus, but with a background that's got a little bit more of a vintage, more classic style versus the FLE, which is more modern rendering through and through. Now I want to show you this image with backlighting because this is really impressive for me. This is a Santa ornament and there is a store in the background, and I want to capture this because I wanted to see what the white light looks like versus the edge of Santa's uniform. And as you can see, this is well corrected. I don't see anything at all. None of these images have been edited whatsoever, straight out of camera. And this is impressive. Normally with a lot of lenses, you're gonna see some fringing happening here, but not with this. This has done a fantastic job. Now I wanna show you some other images. These are just more 35mm wide shots. You will see a little bit of vignetting, but this is more to do with the adapter than anything else because we tried it with other cameras and it wasn't there. So if you see that vignetting, that's with the adapter. But it looks great. Images are sharp. Details are there. I mean, you stop it down, it's a fantastic lens. It's just stop down a little bit and you can see all the lights and the trees and everything, and it looks just awesome. All right, let's talk about design on this. It's a little bit different than previous Noktons out there. Case in point, it tapers down to the front element. So you have a 39mm filter thread on this, which is a little bit smaller than, previous Nokton lenses, but it's not a deal breaker. You can find them out there. But the chrome ring is back. It is back on this lens. And I was a little bit like, why did they do that? Because I thought we were done after the 50 f1. They said no. But to Voigtlander's defense, with the Type 2, which has a glossier black paint finish and the silver chrome finish, it actually looks pretty good. Now on the Type 1, which is an aluminum based body with a more matte black finish, to me, it doesn't match as well. It looks better on the Type 2. Now, that's the difference between both of those lenses, by the way. Type 1 is aluminum body, Type 2 is brass body. Type 2 is going to be heavier, the Type 1 is going to be lighter. I will say this, if you're rocking an M11 and you have that matte black finish, you may want to opt for the Type 1 because that would probably match the camera a little bit more. But if you have, let's say, a black paint M240 or a black MP, then you want this lens because it's going to look beautiful on that Leica body. It matches the paint almost perfectly, in my personal opinion. And the silver chrome actually looks like the 35 lux steel rim, which is currently out on the market. Now, in terms of the design on it, the aperture ring feels really good. It's got a nice ridge to it, so you know where it's at when you're looking through the viewfinder. You don't have to like second guess. You can actually feel the difference between the focus ring and the aperture ring, which is really important on a small lens like this. It's got nice clicks to it. The markings are very clear, no issues at all. This is a really well-built, well-designed lens. Now, when you get to the focus ring, the focus tab on this is fantastic. It's large, your fingers fits in it beautifully. It's very easy to focus and has a nice quick focus throw to it. We know when I was testing it versus the Leica FLE, the FLE has a little bit more tension to it, but this 35 1.5 is faster. So to each their own, not one is better than the other, it's just a different feel. But it doesn't feel loose, it's just faster, so keep that in mind. Now, what it's like to use with that focus tab, fantastic. I had this lens in my hand for 24 hours, so I don't have a lot of time behind it. And I was using it on the Canon R6 Mark II because I just wanted to use it, no lens correction inside of a body, just adapt it and see how it performed. And I got to tell you, it did very, very well. And as you saw from the images earlier, it performs beautifully. You get a nice sort of vintage look to it, but very modern in terms of sharpness. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Now, in terms of close focusing distance on this, okay, there's two measurements. When you're using it on a mirrorless rangefinder, it's 0.5 meters. When you're using it on a rangefinder, it's 0.7 meters. Not a deal breaker. Yes, Leica is adapting some of their newer lenses to do better close focusing, 0.3, 0.4 meters, but we're used to this number anyway. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. More content coming your way. Take care, stay safe, happy holidays, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.